And joining us now to discuss this topic further is Małgorzata Bonikowska, political scientist from the University of Warsaw. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So now we have this largest disbursement from the EU budget for Poland since it has become a member of the bloc. Now, what are the key sectors within Poland that will benefit from these EU funds?
Well, actually, the plan is aimed to boost the economy, but also to fulfill the gaps in infrastructure. And it was rightly said, it's roads, railways, but also healthcare. A lot of money will go to this sector. And also agriculture and the situation of farmers. So definitely there are some priorities in this plan. However, there were some changes made recently because the current government, not in all aspects, wanted to implement the plan prepared by the previous government. So as of now, the most important thing, as it was rightly said, is the time. So at the end of the day, the most important projects are the projects which are able to be implemented during this time.
Right, and with 70% of those projects under scrutiny, they'll have to be reworked, and they can only be projects that have a really tight time frame. So how much of that 70% do you think is actually still on the table and is able to kind of fit the requirements to be accessed?
Well, there are, in the same time, three things analyzed. First is the essence, I mean, the whole plan, if this really fits into the priorities and policies of the current government. Second is the possibility, a physical possibility to implement all what was planned. And we know already that some of the projects will have to be eliminated because of the question of time. But in the same time, there is a discussion at the EU level what to do to maybe find a way to give some more time to the countries who still have a lot to spend. Poland is not the only one. So let's see, there are some signals that the solution, well, there is a huge work on finding some solution to this issue.
So now, what about when it comes to dealing with such big amounts of money? Obviously, transparency and accountability are crucial. So, what measures are being put in place in order to make sure that these funds are used the way that they are supposed to be?
Well, first of all, that's a normal procedure concerning all the public funding. We have a monitoring committee, and we have also many people involved and institutions in supervising the whole plan. However, we have to stress that there is an innovation here. The plan it's the first time in the history of the European Union that it's not really project-based. So the supervising is not only on the concrete project started and then finished and then paid, but it is based on measures. It's based on milestones which have to be fulfilled by Poland as a country. And these milestones can be fulfilled not necessarily with use of the EU money. So it's a combination of the EU funds, Polish public funds, and some of the activities don't even need money, need some action in the parliament, for example, need reforms to be implemented, need pieces of legislation to be, passed in the parliament. So all this combined will be taken into consideration. Every request for payment needs to have an attachment with the list of fulfilled milestones. So this is, I think, the key to understand how the request for payment will be really implemented. We now got the first payment, but Poland will send more requests this year. We know that definitely one more in autumn, at the end of the year, another one, and then next year, two more. So we have to really be sure that these reforms and milestones which are planned, somehow we are able to fulfill. So this is a perspective of how the revision of the plan is also made, to be able to really fulfill the milestones.
Right. Now, if we look at the current government versus the former government. The former government was pretty well prepared to pretty much say goodbye to the EU recovery funds as a whole due to their unwillingness to reform or undo the reforms that they made to the judiciary. Why such a drastic difference in opinion? That this government was very optimistic about accessing these funds, and the previous government, well, it said, well, we can do without them.
Well, it is not very difficult to answer that question. The previous government also wanted this money, but the previous government had an opinion that the money should come to Poland in any case. Whatever happens inside the country doesn't matter, shouldn't matter. The matter is that the money was allocated to Poland. Poland applied. We should get it. This was not implemented because of the problems inside Poland, especially with the rule of law and all the maneuvers the previous government was doing in order to convince the Commission that this is not the case. I mean, that the rule of law is properly kept. The Commission had a different opinion, and that's why we had such a long list of milestones written in the annex to the plan. It still is over 280 milestones. So in the implementation phase, the previous government was able to implement several of these milestones, but not all. And the key question concerning the independence of judiciary, the judges, the situation of judges, especially the penalization of certain sentence and behavior of judges if they wanted to be in accordance with the EU law, was penalized. So this was seen as a major obstacle to really make transfers to Poland. The current government was, when Donald Tusk and his party was in the opposition, there was a constant message that, of course, this issue will disappear once they take over. And that's what is happening. Well, not to the end yet, because there is a very difficult situation of the current government, and especially the Minister of Justice vis-à-vis the president. We all know that there is a huge difference of opinion, and because of that, the pieces of legislation cannot be really, done in the parliament. They can, but we know that, or it was announced, suggested by the president, that president will use his veto to stop that. So it was a different approach taken, and the Minister of Justice prepared an action plan in order to convince the Commission that without necessity of implementing certain pieces of legislation, the situation of judges will change or is changed. It's partly true, and the Commission took it as a good sign. But in reality, let's be very frank, still the ideal situation will be to bring back the whole judiciary system back to normal. And this is not possible without proceedings in the parliament.
Right, and current expectations of the government in place, the ruling coalition, is that they will have presidential elections next year, and that will afford them the chance to have maybe somebody more sympathetic to their views. But in the case that another president, one more aligned with the opposition, the current opposition, gets elected, well, where does that leave this whole EU recovery package? If the current government's unable to get these reforms through in a legislative manner?
Well, as we mentioned, the whole plan is revised vis-à-vis the possibility of being implemented as far as the milestones are concerned. And then in the same time, there are negotiations going on constantly between the Ministry of Justice and the palace. And there is still a lot to do without really implementing laws. So first of all, the Commission will see this phase. If this is promising, if this is kept, and concrete results will be achieved, I think it will be a signal for doing next transfers. And in the same time, we have, we cannot say what will happen next year. So we have, yes, presidential elections. And I think the current government waits for the results. Let's first see who will be a candidate, then who will win. And then I think in accordance to the situation, there will be a plan to handle the situation.
So now, looking ahead, what are the long-term goals and objectives of the current Polish government when it comes to these funds?
Well, it's pretty obvious. We are, as all the other member states, in a package of reforms which aim to boost the European economy, Polish economy included, in order to eliminate or minimize the bad consequences which pandemics caused. So the fund was elaborated just or after or during even pandemic, and it is an extra financial tool to mobilize all the EU member states who use this fund to implement necessary not only reforms but also projects. And of course, healthcare is a very important area, sector, where the changes will be or can be quite visible, but also the economic reforms and the situation of the companies, including the situation in the agriculture. This is also a very important part of this plan. And what is for all of us important is the recovery, economic recovery based on a right infrastructure, especially vis-a-vis innovations. Don't forget that we are going into a phase where digitalization is a must, and in the same time we have to do the energy transformation. So energy is a very, very important part, and both these transformations done in the same time means a lot of money. So I think the focus will be to use the money smartly in a way to obtain a result with extra funds, which the EU wants to obtain has been many years. The transformation, the transition from the classical industrialized period into the 21st century, the economy based on innovations, AI, with clean energy, and all these elements we know from the press from many years, Green Deal, etc.
Right. Well, definitely a lot of things to do, a long way to go. Well, Ms. Małgorzata Bonikowska, political scientist at the University of Warsaw, thank you very much for joining us and having this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.